Chapter 6. Attention. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. James 1:8. Attention is forceful in proportion to the narrowness of its focus, that is, when it is obsessed with a single idea or sensation. It is steadied and powerfully focused only by such an adjustment of the mind as permits you to see one thing only, for you steady the attention and increase its power by confining it. The desire which realizes itself is always a desire upon which attention is exclusively concentrated, for an idea is endowed with power only in proportion to the degree of attention fixed on it. Concentrated observation is the attentive attitude directed from some specific end. The attentive attitude involves selection. For when you pay attention, it signifies that you have decided to focus your attention on one object or state rather than on another. Therefore, when you know what you want, you must deliberately focus your attention on the feeling of your wish fulfilled until that feeling fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. The power of attention is the measure of your inner force. Concentrated observation of one thing shuts out other things and causes them to disappear. The great secret of success is to focus the attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled without permitting any distraction. All progress depends upon an increase of attention. The ideas which impel you to action are those which dominate the consciousness, those which possess the attention. The idea which excludes all others from the field of attention discharges in action. This one thing I do, forgetting those things that are behind, I press toward the mark. Philippians 3:13-14. This means you, the one thing you can do, forgetting those things that are behind. You can press toward the mark of filling your mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To the unenlightened man, this will seem to be all fantasy, yet all progress comes from those that do not take the accepted view, nor accept the world as it is. As was stated heretofore, if you can imagine what you please, and if the forms of your thought are as vivid as the forms of nature, you are, by virtue of the power of your imagination, master of your fate. Your imagination is you yourself, and the world as your imagination sees it is the real world. When you set out to master the movements of attention, which must be done if you would successfully alter the course of observed events, it is then you realize how little control you exercise over your imagination, and how much it is dominated by sensory impressions and by a drifting on the tides of idle moods. To aid in mastering the control of your attention, practice this exercise. Night after night, just before you drift off to sleep, strive to hold your attention on the activities of the day in reverse order. Focus your attention on the last thing you did, that is, getting into bed, and then move it backward in time over the events until you reach the first event of the day, getting out of bed. This is no easy exercise, but just as specific exercises greatly help in developing specific muscles, this will greatly help in developing the muscle of your attention. Your attention must be developed, controlled, and concentrated in order to change your concept of yourself successfully, and thereby change your future. Imagination is able to do anything, but only according to the internal direction of your attention. If you persist night after night, sooner or later you will awaken in yourself a center of power and become conscious of your greater self, the real you. Attention is developed by repeated exercise or habit. Through habit, an action becomes easier, and so, in course of time, gives rise to a facility or faculty which can then be put to higher uses. When you attain control of the internal direction of your attention, you will no longer stand in shallow water, but will launch out into the deep of life. You will walk in the assumption of the wish fulfilled as on a foundation more solid even than the earth. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, so we're talking here about flitting between happy and sad, or concentrating your energy on one thing and another thing and another thing. You're splitting your attention in multiple different places, and as we know, where attention goes, energy flows. If you've got your attention split on lots of different things, then your energy is being weakened massively and it's spread too thin. Joe Dispenza talks about this. You've got one eye on Facebook, another one on the news, you're checking out something else, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about your home life, you're worrying about this, you're worrying about that. All your energy is being depleted on so many things that you can't actually affect. So it's much more effective if you can stop your thoughts wandering on so many different things, and as Neville puts it, attention is forceful in proportion to the narrowness of its focus. The less things you concentrate on, the more energy goes towards it, the easier it is to manifest it. You see here, the desire which realizes itself is always a desire upon which attention is exclusively concentrated. And again, this is what Carnegie was talking about, his ability to concentrate on one thing. And there's plenty of extremely successful people. If you've read Napoleon Hill, you'll know this, that it's all about concentration. It's all about imprinting a single thing upon your subconscious mind. And for instance, I started meditating upon getting healthy. I think I did it for 3 days, and I hadn't been to the gym for about a year. And one day I woke up and I decided to start hitting the weights again. So I'd imprinted on my subconscious mind that I wanted to be healthy. Did that for a few days, then bam, I woke up, I felt like going to the gym again. So it's really, really important. When we were at risk of being homeless, despite the odds being stacked against us in finding a property, I didn't accept the odds. I didn't care about the odds. Like Han Solo says, never tell me the odds, it doesn't matter. I set my attention that we were going to find a property. Every day, I spent time meditating that we'd found a property, and sure enough, we found one. And I was in the same boat a year later, and I did the same thing every day. Meditated, visualizing the outcome as it was, that we had a property, and again we found one despite the apparent odds, because the odds has nothing to do with it. This is all about your concentration. So therefore, when you know what you want, you must deliberately focus your attention on the feeling of your wish fulfilled, until that feeling fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. It's all too easy to be distracted by reality and the millions of things that's going on. But the thing that really helped me was to realise that the present reality was just a reflection of past thinking. If you start changing the way you think, start meditating upon what you want, then that is what is going to change the future. If you change your thoughts, anything can happen. If you don't change your thoughts, if you keep going on doing what you've been doing, then obviously reality isn't going to change that much. This means the one thing you can do is forgetting those things that are behind. Present reality, past reality are irrelevant as soon as you start changing the way you think and feel. You think about something, you feel something. So a thought provokes a feeling, but it does become a habit. If you habitually think negatively, you will habitually become depressed. It does take, if that's the case, some time to reprogram your subconscious mind. You have to start thinking about something that makes you positive and keep doing it throughout the day. You have to make it a habit to override the past habit. So Neville says here, to the unenlightened man, this will seem to be all fantasy. Well, of course it will. The common man couldn't even read until about 100 years ago. All this information has been kept behind closed doors. The public consciousness was very much kept in the dark about this. Thanks to the industrial age, everything's changed. Not long ago, 90% of the population were working in the fields. They had no need to read. Once the Industrial Revolution kicked off, we started getting things like combine harvesters. All of a sudden, new industries were created. All these 90% of the workforce were no longer in the fields. They needed to read. So the public have, developed quite rapidly over the last 100 years. And with the birth of the internet, information is being spread more freely. And so we're now aware of these things that, until very recently, only the elite knew. It's still not, I'd say, common knowledge, although there is a very large portion of the public that are aware of this stuff now. But, I think more and more people are becoming enlightened as we pass out of the age of Kali Yuga. So to aid in mastering the control of your attention, practice this exercise. And I believe this exercise was a Rosicrucian exercise. By all means, try this to develop your attention. Another thing that I know for a fact will improve your attention is learning to meditate. If you sit down and you just focus on your breathing, and this is the mission, all you're going to do is focus on your breathing. Your subconscious mind will put a thought into your conscious mind, and you can either say no, hold your focus on your breathing, or you can start thinking about it and drift off into a reverie. So the more you practice staying with your breathing and not focusing on other things, your attention will just become absolutely way more powerful. And you'll become much more patient as a result of it as well.